Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis. Today we are going to talk about what you can expect from the transfer portal. What do we need to get out of it? What's going on? How is this going to look going forward? We're not really going to talk about who's coming, but what we need. We'll also talk a little bit about the game last night and the little boat race that happened in College Station as the Rebels dropped the game to the Aggies. But this is the Locked On Ole Miss Podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss Podcast. I am your host, Stephen Willis. Thank you very much for tuning in today. We got a bunch of stuff to get to today. We're going to talk a little bit later on about the basketball game a little bit last night. We'll mention Jarkel Joyner and how long he is expected to be out. That's 4 to 6 weeks, but we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show. But first, we're going to start with the transfer portal. I know we seemingly do a lot of shows on the portal, and I think that's just because I don't think people really get the portal. They don't really understand the portal. And people are freaking out about people entering the portal. Well, you got to get back to the 85 number. And even below that, if you're going to bring people in from the portal. So it's going to cause a lot of moving in and out of what's going on. Now, you can take that, you take the chaos, or you can try and organize the chaos. And that's what Ole Miss is trying to do. But first of all, I want to tell you today's episode is brought to you by NetSuite. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth. Head to netsuite.com/LockedOnNCAA for special end-of-year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. And also, thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Tune into YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell. You'll not only know that we're on, we'll know what we're on about. So you'll get the notification. It'll let you know when we're on, and you're good to go. So thank you very much for tuning into that. Now, we're talking about the transfer portal. The transfer portal is a very, very big thing. It is the heart of this class. Now, there's going to be players that Ole Miss needs to replace. And one of the players is Jake Springer. Isheem Young comes in. He's a very similar type player. The next player that Ole Miss needs to replace is Chance Campbell, who was an all-everything linebacker at Ole Miss and is probably the reason the strategy is what it is with the transfer portal right now at Ole Miss. There's a rumor of a linebacker from, I think, the MAC potentially coming down and playing at Ole Miss. Wide receiver, there's a rumor of Deion Smith from LSU potentially moving up. I think he has academic hurdles to climb through. At quarterback, we'll get to that in a second. I think the whole second segment might be on the 2 USC guys that are potentially visiting this week. And because of that, if Ole Miss hits on the linebacker, if Ole Miss hits on the offensive lineman, because I think there's an offensive lineman there today. I think Mason Brooks is there today. He visited Auburn. Auburn was really high on him. And then all of a sudden, 2 offensive linemen at Auburn decide to come back for an extra year. So that probably might lead a little doubt. And so he's visiting Ole Miss. So we'll see how that goes. Now, Deion Smith, like I said, he's got academic work to do as well. And I don't know exactly what that work is. I don't know what's going on. Honestly, I don't really care what that work is. I just care that it is work. And is it resolved? It's like a pass-fail type thing for me. So when I hear that information, can he make it? Yes? Okay. You're good to go. That's the way I view that. And whenever you look at what's going on in the transfer portal, people need to realize that the relationship between college athletes and the fans are about to change drastically. This year is showing the creation of a mercenary class in college football. Just is what it is. And as this develops, people that have for years let's say, collected college athletes and coaches for status purpose, that's not exactly going to be the same thing. You have a situation right now, like with the media, and nothing against the media on what's going on here, but Ole Miss coaches are turning over at a high rate. They spent 2 years in vain trying to build relationships. Now they've got to start all over again. And it's pretty interesting, pretty hilarious. Lane Kiffin's disdain almost for the local media is kind of funny. I enjoy that. I love the way they do press conferences. I love the way they treat the media overall. They do exactly what they need to do. Because if you allow it, and if everybody's got loose lips and everybody's talking, they will absolutely ruin something in your program. I've seen it happen more than once. So it is what it is. But anyway, you got Zach Evans at running back, who I've told people he's coming in, he's committed. He reminds me of Adrian Peterson running the ball at Oklahoma. He didn't get a lot of carries at TCU. That concerns me a little bit as to why exactly that happened. But he didn't get a lot of those carries. So we need to see what he looks like here, because Lane Kiffin will absolutely give him carries if he can handle carries. Remember, Lane Kiffin's the guy that ran Derrick Henry 45 times a game en route to a national championship in 2015. I mean, if I had Derrick Henry, yes, I would do the exact same thing. But you have a guy with the tempo and everything going on. Zach Evans has a chance to be really, really special in this offense. You pair those with, on the outside, Deion Smith, and on the inside, the potential tight end, and you got offensive linemen. You got major pieces coming in and most position groups. The one we're not hearing about is defensive line, and they'll probably bring in a depth piece at defensive line. But the reality is that defensive line, they're pretty set. They get Tywone Malone back to full speed next season. Talik Robbins can contribute. You have Katie Hill and Xavier Harris. You have those guys. There's only 3 spots. You have Damon Clowney. You have players ready to go on the defensive line. And it's pretty interesting to me. Tavius Robinson is coming back. I mean, he's flashed over and over again, and he's back. So it is what it is. It is what it is. I hate saying that, but whatever. When we come back, we are going to talk about the USC duo that is potentially, now hear the word potentially, visiting Ole Miss later this week and what that would mean to the program. So first, let's hear from Built Bar and Get Upside from our sponsors. And of course, Hotty Toddy. Hey everyone, it's the new year, and that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit, eating healthier, make sure to include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good. You'll want to eat it, unlike other protein bars, which can be chalky or waxy or taste like a chemical spill. You want to eat healthy, but it just gets so boring. So by week 3, you're thinking, this is just not worth it. Where's the chocolate? Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. So here's an idea for the new year. Go to all your secret treat stashes at home, in the pantry, at the office, in the car, wherever. Throw out all the sugary or calorie-filled treats and replace them with Built Bars. So when you're craving a snack or treat, or you can reach for something that's really healthy and tastes incredible. So go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off at Built.com. Again, go to Built.com, use promo code, and get 15% off your order. The promo code is LOCKED15 at Built.com. Hey Ole Miss fans, this is Stephen Willis with an incredible app everyone who buys, needs gas, needs to know about. Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code SCORE and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon in your first fill up. That's 50 cents per gallon cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use promo code SCORE to get up to 50% per gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 or $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added to your account. You can add cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, a gift card, Amazon, or other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code SCORE to get up to 50% cash back on your first tank. That's code SCORE. Sounds like a good deal. All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Hit the bell, subscribe, do all that. You'll know that we're streaming. You'll not only know that we're streaming, you know what we're streaming about. Thank you very much for tuning in. Now, the first segment, we talked about transfer portal and what is out there and what we need and, even what we've gotten to this point. Now, let's talk about, I hate to do it a little bit, but let's talk about rumors. And it doesn't matter what the rumors come from, but it's being reported on sites other than Ole Miss. So this isn't Ole Miss only local media. This would be like, for whatever reason, the Oklahoma board and the USC board talking about these two particular players. Because Oklahoma had some sort of a scheme to try and get Jaxson Dart on campus this weekend. Apparently that did not work, or that fell through. But we'll see how that goes. But Ole Miss is trying to bring in, and I'm going to say trying to bring in, Michael Trigg and Jaxson Dart this weekend from Southern California. Jaxson Dart is a dude. Michael Trigg is a dude. These people would catapult Ole Miss's class to a level that has not been seen since 2016. Now, everybody's talking about recruiting rankings. They look at recruiting rankings, and it's like Ole Miss finished in the low 20s. Yeah, that's not the whole story anymore. If you're just looking at that, you're not getting the full picture. Now, the only one that I've seen actually do this is there's an overall ranking at 24/7 Sports. And they factor in both the transfer portal and the recruits and put them together. Right now, Ole Miss is 16th on that list. With the addition of Dart and Trigg, Ole Miss would probably go into the top 10. Now, we're also talking about if that happens, if for some reason Ole Miss was able to land them, it would be an immense thing for the program, but B, it would put them in a position to where this year can now officially be just sustained. Because Ole Miss doesn't need Jaxson Dart at quarterback. And you can see the picture on our thumbnail that we have of Luke Altmaier. I have all the confidence in the world in Luke Altmaier. If Luke Altmaier's the dude, let's go. He showed me in the Sugar Bowl that he is more than capable of doing it. He's a very competitive son of a gun. And I am all about Luke Altmaier. Luke Altmaier needs competition in the transfer portal. Whether that's from Jaxson Dart, somebody with the high likelihood of probably winning the job, or somebody that might be a little bit lower level that can just compete with him. The winner of that job is going to tell the tale. And I'm looking forward to seeing the competition. This spring is a huge spring for Luke Altmaier. He needs to get everything that he needs ready for the fall. He's got 15 practices this spring to completely make an impression on Charlie Weiss Jr. and Lane Kiffin that he can do this. And that goes for any transfer that comes in as well. It's imperative for a transfer quarterback to get to Ole Miss in the spring. If you give Luke Altmaier 15 practices to be the guy, he has a very good chance of winning that job. It is imperative for any transfer quarterback to come in and be announced in the next 2 weeks. Honestly, I think the drop ad date is around January 31st. So you got into the end of the month to enroll at Ole Miss. And it could happen. I mean, there's people in good standing, but we'll see. That's the reason this visit with Michael Trigg and Jaxson Dart is so important, because it fits the time frame for spring to be just a battle of dudes. Because Luke Altmaier, it doesn't matter how it looked in the Sugar Bowl to you. If you take only the negative, that was an extremely impressive performance by Luke Altmaier. The way this worked, I'll rehash this again. The way this worked is Matt Corral goes down in the first quarter. Second quarter is emergency time. There's no game plan, no anything. That's just about survival. And the offensive line and everything else, you just trying to get to halftime. At the long halftime, they sat there and he figured out a game plan for Luke Altmaier, what he does well. What you saw in the third quarter is right now plus Luke Altmaier, what he does really well. And he did. I thought in the third quarter something special was absolutely going to happen. Then in the fourth quarter, Dave Aranda is a good defensive coordinator. They adjusted. They did what they needed to do. And they were able to take away what Ole Miss was able to do with Luke Altmaier. So it was very interesting. It's just very interesting of what's going on there. Now, Jaxson Dart, he's a guy that will absolutely push Luke Altmaier and probably win the job. He's a guy that all of a sudden you can get your hopes up a little bit for the fall if he comes in. And if Luke Altmaier wins the job with Jaxson Dart on campus, you can get your hopes up then too, because he's a dude. And with those other pieces in place, and especially somebody like Zach Evans, who I've said all the time, he's Jerry and Ely's speed and quickness with Snoop Connor's body. That's the package that you're getting with Zach Evans. He's a former top 15 player in the country. I mean, it's just a really, really big deal. And, I'm just looking forward to this football season and what can be held and what they can do, because there's starting to be a little bit of momentum. And there's people that are freaking out for whatever random reason in the middle of January about something that's going to happen 7 months from now. And it doesn't make sense. I don't mind staff turnover. You're going to see people get upset about staff turnover. He's shown the ability to hire, which means he can replace them. We've seen coaches that could not replace them. Steve Sloan, for instance. I think he got the job at Ole Miss in 1978 or 1979 or something like that. He was John Forcade's coach in college. Well, he got the job when he was at Texas Tech, and I think he was 9-2 or something the year before. And his defensive coordinator was Bill Parcells, and the staffs just got picked apart. And by the time he got to Ole Miss, I mean, he did have Romeo Crennel, who's still coaching in the league, I think. And because of that, the staff got progressively worse. And the recruiting fell significantly behind. And it became a losing proposition. Billy Brewer got the job and they started to build and all of that happened. But the point is, coaches either can replace a coach like Nick Saban and several coaches out there. You can replace your guy, or you cannot replace your guy, which means you're going to get progressively worse. Another option actually is the head coach is not the dude on staff. And that happened. Colorado hired Dan Hawkins, but it turned out Chris Peterson was the brains at Boise State. So Dan Hawkins got to Colorado and it failed. Chris Peterson got elevated to Boise State and the rest was history. So don't necessarily worry about staff turnover. We have someone that can hire. We have somebody that is the dude of the staff. So don't worry about staff, because he can literally find the right 10 people to put out there, and it doesn't have to be the same 10 people. The people that are really upset about it are, like I said, the people that collect coaches and athletes as friends, all that, so they can feel important. And, I mean, it just, don't overly worry about that, because honestly, it just doesn't seem to matter. Chris Partridge is potentially going to be the defensive coordinator. Charlie Weiss Jr. is going to be the offensive coordinator, and the rest of you just filling in position coaches. And because of that, I just don't see it. I'm not worried at this point. Nobody else should be worried either. We are going to hear from our sponsors, which is NetSuite, and should be pretty good. I'm pretty excited about what is going on with Ole Miss football right now, and the potential to break into the top 10 in new class recruits is a pretty big deal. And we haven't been there since 2016, and before that 2013. And that is the reason, by the way, I got a comment the other day. They were talking about Kimdichi's stats. No, the point of the Robert Kimdichi comparison was the fact that he was first. That was it. Laquan and Laramie does not happen without Robert. So you have to get a Robert first. And Zach Evans coming into the boat was first. So that's my point about that. So anyway, coming up in the next little bit later on the show, we're going to talk about Ole Miss and Texas A&M and what I think might have happened. So stick around. This is it, the putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours, but on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you're running your business? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software? To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. Over 27,000 businesses already use NetSuite, and right now, through the end of the year, NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financing program to those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/lockedonnca. Head to netsuite.com/lockedonnca for your special end-of-year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. That's netsuite.lockedon. That's netsuite.com/lockedonnca. So you give those guys a good look. They're the #1 cloud financial system that will help power your growth, and basically it's a pretty good deal. So give them a call, netsuite.com/lockedonnca. All right, welcome back. We're going to talk about Texas A&M 67-51 victory over Ole Miss last night. There's not a lot to talk about. The main thing we need to talk about is that Jarkel Joyner will be out 4 to 6 weeks. We've done a couple of shows this week where we talked about Jarkel Joyner and needing to be the sixth man and trying to piece this together. And well, now we don't have that luxury. And if you do the math, if he's out 6 weeks, he's out to pretty much the end of February, which there might be 2 or 3 games that he can play at that point. Now, my takeaway from this game is that Texas A&M's pretty good. Now, Ole Miss did not play well, and they did not shoot well. I think they shot 22% from three-point range. They shot 34% from two-point range. They did all right at the line, and they didn't turn the ball over particularly. They just didn't shoot well, and that is an Achilles heel of this team. That's something they've gone back. But you got people like Jamin Brakefield went for 9 points. Nasheer Brooks went to 9 points. Matthew Morrell went for 11. Deshaun Ruffin went for 10. And that's 40. That's almost all of the points. I mean, Luis Rodriguez got 7, but that's almost all the points they scored. That is, let's see, 39 of 51 points. So the offensive production is going to have to come from them. You saw against State what that can look whenever they got their numbers up to around 15, and one of them absolutely went off. And this is a team that is challenging shooting the ball. I mean, it just is. It's challenge shooting the ball. And because of that, we need to keep in mind that droughts like this could happen and games like this could happen. This is the reason you can't play analytics ball at Ole Miss, because we don't shoot the three well enough. There's too many nights where it just disappears. And because of that, you have, games where Texas A&M didn't exactly play well. They shot the ball pretty well, but a lot of it was layups. I saw some good offense being run by Texas A&M, and they finish at the basket. It doesn't matter if it gets up on the backboard, they finish the ball. And because of that, they were just able, Ole Miss was able to keep it close. Texas A&M went on a run, got it to 10, and then from there it just got out of hand a little bit for the Ole Miss Rebels. But I am still of the opinion that Ole Miss has a decent basketball team when those four are on the court at the same time. The problem for Ole Miss is when one of them is off the court, specifically Deshaun Ruffin. It just is what it is. We take Deshaun Ruffin off the court and replace him. It just becomes interesting. Now, also, last night, James White got some minutes, which tells me he is the second level of the freshman behind Deshaun Ruffin in I don't know, talent, in production, however you want to put it, in Kermit Davis's mind. So it interesting to see. I want to see if his minutes increase. Ole Miss has Auburn Saturday at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. And because of that, Auburn is playing like one of the best teams in the country right now. Now, will they play like that Saturday? I don't know. Kermit Davis has some kind of effect on Bruce Pearl. It just happens. I don't know why it happens. I don't know what's going on, but it happens. So I don't know if Auburn is going to come in and run and gun and do whatever they have to do, or will Kermit Davis be able to shut them down like he has done pretty consistently over the year. The year that Auburn went to the Final Four, I think Ole Miss might have beat them once or twice that year. There's a weird juju between Ole Miss and Auburn in basketball that really can't be discounted at this point. But when you look at Auburn's basketball, this might be the best team in the country. So Ole Miss might be looking at a 1-3 start to start conference play. And we'll see what it looks like. Like I said, Jarkel Joyner out 4 to 6 weeks. He's going to have a back procedure, which anytime the back's involved, I get a little bit nervous. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, it is what it is. Now, thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day. We're going to keep going with the transfer portal. Any news that we have on that, we're going to talk about it a little bit. Of course, anything that needs to be talked about will be talked about on this show. Stuff that you don't need to waste energy on really will not be talked about on this show. So now make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. Until tomorrow, have a good one.